we go. Cup of Comics, first episode.
Oh, love that. Cup of Comics.
Good,
I mean, it's a
good.
bit cozy, but I mean,
I love cozy, bro.
Oh, you love cozy.
I love cozy.
Okay,
Cozy's
right, cool.
always good. Cozy's always
Cozy's
good. I think
good.
it'd be a great interaction. And yeah, it's a good book we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. Oh, and cheers, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome, bro.
Ah, thank you very much.
There we go. Cup of Comics, first episode.
Oh, love that. Cup of Comics.
Cup of Comics. Guys, welcome to this new venture I'm on at the moment, and with the help of Rob being the first guest and allowing to use his equipment as well.
Should we tell them that we tried somewhere else before?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. It didn't work out.
It didn't work out, but this is really nice. It's outside.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful day.
So Cup of Comics, it's going to be a ongoing new venture for me to get in contact with creators like Rob himself, but to talk about favorite books, comic books, projects that they're working on, and just kind of going through the creative process. I think today's episode we're going to be talking about Paul Dini's Dark Knight, which is a Batman true story.
There we are.
This is quite close to Rob, and I want to ask why this book?
Why this book?
Yeah, why this book?
I think I speak on behalf of Mark Hamill, who said it himself as well, but this is a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. I think it really is. I think the artwork, first of all, I think is incredibly sophisticated for what it is. It's brutal and hard-hitting where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. And I think it sounds kind of a weird compliment to say, but it's very beautiful as well. I think it's beautifully drawn for something about the subject matter in particular. Mm-hmm. And then particularly about the subject matter, the writing itself is extraordinary because ultimately it's a piece about our mental health and well-being as artists. Mm-hmm. And what does it mean to be a writer in particular, writing for a character who didn't save him?
Yeah,
and
no,
I think
that's the heartbreaking part.
That's the heartbreaking part.
I got to read it again last night. It is one of my favourites. It's for me, it's one of those cult classic comic books. I think Paul Dini has a massive, if you guys don't know, has a massive catalogue of things that he's done, and he's done probably one of the best Batman movies ever.
Oh yeah.
We can say that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And worked on Justice League, Tiny Toons. Oh my God, his catalogue's massive. The Justice League cartoons. He's done so much for the industry.
I mean, it's interesting because even alone, Batman the Animated Television Series is just like one credit alone. But yeah, he even lists it on the back. It's like it's too much even for the back catalogue. It's just like
he's an important staple stone of this industry and this work as well. I think what he has brought to it, and with this story as well, which is, I remember when reading it the first time, that feeling I had right here. Like, my stomach turned a little bit because I was like, here's a guy who's brought hope in this industry with his writing and the things that he's done, to actually going through something horrific like that, and he lost hope.
Oh, absolutely. But I think what's really extraordinary about the piece is that it just doesn't pull any punches. Even to the point where even he admits, because I think most people, when they write about themselves, they kind of like make a puff piece about themselves.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Even he admits, like, even the way he treated women and the way he was at the time, he was a completely different person before he had that incident. But then when the incident actually happened, it completely changed him even more so as a person. He went definitely down rock bottom, but then came back from it in this extraordinary manner. And it's interesting rewatching Mask of the Phantasm now, knowing what he went through. Because he wrote all the Joker scenes. So when you watch that film back and you look at it and you go, this Joker is very mean-spirited and much more sinister than we've seen him. Like, I think the analogy's been made before about him being a shark. I would say that that portrayal in that writing in particular in that film
makes sense.
Definitely more so. And I think it's even one of the rare occasions that we actually see the Joker in the animated series kill somebody. He kills the mobster,
right. Yeah, that's right.
So,
I
mean, even to do that alone is just
wow.
Yeah,
okay, now interesting.
Nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, that's interesting because like you don't see it from so many point of views, and I think there was a reason why this kind of dawned on me where I wanted to do this episode. Is understand other people and what they see with other projects during that time. then it kind of it connects the dots, doesn't it?
It really does.
Oh man, that's insane.
But it just says as well that the work speaks volumes, even more so.
100%, 100%. I mean, his journey as a creative, going through what he went through to, having these demons on his shoulders, to come into a point where he's out there. I mean, he does talk about it now, and it's not as hurtful as it was at the time. I think this book, like, really, it's creative in itself, where the way he's put himself and the situation in it to include characters that we adore as well.
Yeah,
that's great in itself.
No,
because
absolutely.
I often try and think about when creating, how do you put yourself into those moments?
Yeah,
because you want to put a part of what you are and your personality in that piece of work. So I think what he did here is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I think it's just the pure honesty of the matter. Sorry, London surroundings. We can't control it. London's on the move always.
Oh yeah, always
on the move. But I think for me, there's like specific moments in particular where you get that element of pure honest truth about it.
Yeah, that's right.
What I really appreciate about this in particular, like, there are moments where he discusses even the his childhood.
Yeah.
And talks about how the imagination for him was the only way of his form of escapism, but it was also his way of being.
Yeah, that's
and
right. Yeah.
Even when it was letting him down, it still came through. And even
That's
by
right.
the end of the tale, it's almost a careful reminder of that.
Exactly.
But to add to your point about the characters that we meet along the way, like we get Poison Ivy, we get Two-Face, we get the Joker, obviously. But I think through the crux of it all, and I think this is why, for me, and it's probably, I have no problem saying this honestly, but I do think this is a masterpiece, but I do think it is a very definitive, true Batman story, because fundamentally you see the good and bad side of the character of Batman, who has always been flawed.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Fundamentally, and I know we've discussed this on many occasions, but for myself in particular, he is a beacon for people who are dealing with grief in a very powerful way.
Yeah, that's right, 100%. I think it's that connection is important to so many people at different levels, I think. And for us as creatives is, I mean, what is it about Batman that still connects with people to this day? And how Paul has used that in this particular story is what's the word for it? I'm gonna wait for this guy to
I was gonna say good timing, because it's a good way of going about it.
I can't think of the word right now, but it works so well.
Yeah, it does.
This works so well. Like, even though, as you said, I think originally we spoke about there's little bits of humor in there. Would you think wasn't needed? Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's almost like he feels compelled to, because you have to remember, at the end of the day, he's the guy that created Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn is easily one of, if not the funniest character in the animated series.
Yes, that's right.
I've got no problem saying that. And again, may Arlene Sorkin rest.
Oh yeah, of course, yes.
Beautiful performance.
Oh, brilliant.
And I think because he feels compelled to add the humour in there, because it's so what he's well known for. I think it would be off-brand for him to just go completely full-out, honest, brutal approach. But I think, while it's not necessarily necessary, I think it's welcomed, because there are like some very striking moments.
Yes,
like,
definitely.
There are. I did not expect, and I remember I said this to you this morning actually when we were pulling up, that I completely forgot about the Emmy scene where he self-harms. And again, there's a great line in there where he says sometimes we bend the truth to overemphasize certain points. I don't know if he necessarily used his own primetime Emmy to self-harm.
Yeah.
But if that is true, I mean, it does just go to show that, and I think for me, and I think a lot of people out there should know this, that you can be really good at what you do and win awards and this, that, and the other, but 100%. It doesn't mean shit.
No, it doesn't.
Because at the end of the day, you have to have a feeling deep down inside of you that says, what I'm doing is honest and true to myself.
Exactly.
And if I can just attract one person out there who sees that level of truth and honesty that I'm bringing to the work that I'm doing, then I know I've done my job.
That changes everything. Yeah, exactly.
And I think for him, in that moment in particular, because for him, loneliness is such a big key factor within this
100%
as well.
in this book, 100%.
So for 100%. Him to say, after winning a Primetime Emmy for him, what could have been his crowning achievement at that time, I think he won 2 in the end, but for this first one, for Tiny Toon Adventures, and the first thing he does is go home and self-harm. It's heartbreaking. But I think it's also, again, there's added humour within that, where it's not warranted and it's not really needed, but I think just having that element of that because he feels compelled to, I think it's the only way. I
to
think
lighten the mood after before you go to the next page. Basically.
Exactly, but it's also that level where comedians, like I think even Robin Williams even said it best, where comedy hides the trauma.
Oh yes, oh my God, and that's, I think with the humour they do that. It hides the trauma, and it's easier for the readers. I think for the readers, for me it was easy to turn to the next page without having that doubt of, oh man, this has gone really south. What could go wrong with somebody going through such a horrific incident? Now, if you guys don't know, Paul was
badly beaten up.
Badly beaten up.
Yeah.
Badly beaten up.
Yeah.
Badly beaten up and
mugged.
So he almost his face kind of crushed in.
Basically,
isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, he makes a point in saying that there were bones that should have been there, but they're no longer there.
No longer. So that's insane, like what he went through, and
to reconstruct his face essentially,
bloody hell.
Which is, I mean, getting beaten up is one thing, but to have your face being beaten up to the point of having to be reconstructed it's horrible.
That is a very dark place.
That's a very dark place.
Now you kind of get like some of what he put in this to for the readers to have that experience of it, because that is a whole different mental battle. To come out on the other end, which is amazing, but some people don't come out at the other end.
No.
And that's the hardest part. And I think that was his outlet when he did this.
Yeah.
Was that I've still got these demons in me. How do I let go of them? And I can go back to it and read it whenever I want to, but it's not going to affect me moving on to the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So, if you guys haven't read this book, it's like a must for anybody who's into comic books. I think
absolutely
it's a great must to read.
I would say to anyone who's just a fan of literature, honestly, and that sounds like such a wide way of saying it, but anyone who loves books, anyone who likes to read. Books. I think one of the big important lessons that I had as a kid from my mum in particular was that books are not only our source of knowledge, but they are quote unquote special. And the reason
100%.
why she taught me that very quickly at a young age was because she knew, I think deep down, that there's a different level of understanding of the world around us through the pages and the words that are being said, and how you interpret them in many ways, and how you imagine them in other ways. You know, the beautiful thing about this is that the images themselves are incredibly powerful. They're very cinematic as well.
Very cinematic.
Very cinematic. But I think to enhance that even further by the words that are mentioned in particular, and I remember saying this on the stage that we were at Birmingham.
That's right.
All those months ago, and I said, I think the one thing that we forget every day is that we make it through the end of the day.
Of course.
And
of course,
sometimes we just need a film, a TV program, a book, a graphic novel like this to really just say the world hasn't ended. It's okay. And that's like the biggest compliment I can give about this book is that it gives you the permission to be angry.
Yes, that's right.
It gives you the permission to be upset.
That's right, yeah.
It gives you the permission to say, I'm not okay.
Exactly.
Both physically or mentally. And there's a beautiful, beautiful sentence which is at one point where he says, it's taken me years to accept what you told me back then, and this is what he's referring to as Batman, that you were there for me that night. Not as a vigilante swinging to the rescue, but as an ideal, an inspiration, a voice I heard in darkness commanding me to stand up. And we have to make that choice by standing up. And I think that's just,
such a line.
It's just, again, this is why I think, I thank my mum for that, actually,
of
that
course.
lesson as well. So, but I also thank Paul Dini for this incredible book.
And look, thanks to Mum.
Yeah, thanks to Mum.
You got to thank Mum.
Always thank the mum.
Eduardo's art, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like the different tones he takes in this is astonishing, and I don't know. He still gives me that kind of Frank Miller look to his artwork.
Yeah.
I see that inspiration in there, but I love the different tones of what we get for different scenarios, for different memories, and different situations.
It almost feels like as if, this to me feels like Tim Sale.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like you can see where the inspirations are coming from.
Sorry, just a reference there. There, that panel there. That definitely feels like a Tim Sale approach of things. And,
100%.
Also, shout out to the last Halloween. I think that's coming out soon.
Yes,
right?
that's
Yeah,
right.
it's
Yes.
gonna be good.
Yeah,
It's gonna be good.
that's right, yeah.
But it almost feels like, as well as a document, because this is like a story that's set in the 90s and then up until now, because he's recounting the tale.
That's right.
It is very clever to have different art styles kind of approach within the tale, because in the present, it's this kind of oil pastel kind of texture to it,
Yes,
and I
that's
think
right.
that almost shows in itself like a progression of the art.
Oh yeah, of course. I think the comic book artwork has massively progressed to what I still love everything from, the 80s and 90s. That's like my era of comic books and art style. But what we've come to now and how grand it looks. I mean, you look at Alex Ross stuff. I mean, Alex Ross started it off with how epic things looked, and you've got these amazing artists. I mean, I could list a whole name full of them, but like I feel like it's progressed so much, so good that I see more of it now.
Yeah.
Where for us back then was your local comic book shops and the few people that were fans of it that had art pieces up on their wall. I think when I was introduced to Alex Ross was like mid 90s.
Right.
And it was which piece was it? It's a Superman piece, of course.
Yeah.
His Superman piece. Kingdom Come?
Kingdom Come.
Yeah, it was Kingdom Come. Yeah. So it was like, oh wow, like you've come to a point now where you can make every page look like a masterpiece. But don't get me wrong, even with what Eduardo's done in here, each panel and the way he's done it, that's something I would love on my walls.
Oh yeah.
It's
probably not the Emmy scene of it.
No, of course not.
Not that
there
scene,
are
obviously,
some epic pieces in here where I'm like, oh my god, I'd love to see that piece up on the wall. And
I mean, look, this is quite a striking cover to have,
exactly,
but that I think in itself is. If I had needed something to remind myself of something, it would be that.
Yeah,
And actually, I do have this on display. Even better. So I ironically do have it on display. But,
Even better.
I completely agree with you on the artist side of things. And actually, can I ask you a question in regards to art? Because you are an artist.
Yes.
Which you need to say more of, by the way.
Oh yes,
you definitely need to say more.
I'm an artist. I'm an artist.
Yeah,
I'm an artist.
You're an artist. In your opinion, right now, where are we at in terms of comic book art? In terms of is it too, are we too fixated as readers to the point where it's like it needs to be, finessed to the point where it's not quite, or is having those imperfections okay for you? Because I hear this comment all the time about people looking at the work and going, oh, well, joints aren't like that. Or this, people said the same thing about Frank Miller's work, like in even The Dark Knight Returns, which is great.
I love it.
Yeah, and I know when you had your chat with Vincent Jerome, shout out to him, by the way.
Shout out.
When he was talking about Mazzucchelli and
his
work.
Yes.
It's very grounded.
Very grounded,
but very bright. But for some people, it's not very aesthetically pleasing. So I guess my question is, are those imperfections something that you welcome, or is it something for you as an artist
I welcome it.
Yeah,
I welcome it because it gives me what the creator has gone through in that sketch. Like whether it was a mistake or it's his art style, there's something I take from that.
Yeah.
Like me as an artist, I have started to accept the facts. There are mistakes that I make on there, but I don't see them as mistakes no more. Those are my traits.
Yes.
And I think that's what every artist has. They have. Until you come to that point where you accept yourself as an artist where those are my traits.
Yeah.
That is me on that page. And the reason why I leave my pencils underneath is because that's what I do as an artist. Where before it was ink it, then rub it out. But then you realize while you're rubbing it out, because the ink has bled through, you end up tearing the page. So I think art in comic books at the moment now, we have an abundance of it now. And we have so many amazing artists. For me, I love all forms of art.
Right.
But as an audience, because they're spoilt with choice, the thing that's going to step out or stand out to them is the one that doesn't have imperfections on it.
Right. That's
so
really
for me,
interesting about the sport for choice comment.
We're spoilt for choice, bro. We're spoilt for choice. Because I think, so what else was there? There was a recent comic book I read recently, and the artwork, some people would maybe not say it was amazing.
Right.
But I really liked what they did. Judge Dredd. It was a Judge Dredd comic book I read. I bought a box off eBay with random Judge. Yeah.
Well, of course you did. Yeah. Of course you did.
with random Judge Dredd, because I thought I wanted to learn more about Dredd. I loved what Stallone did.
Hey, it's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah,
I honestly think the first 10 minutes is a Judge Dredd movie, and then it becomes a Stallone.
Yeah. It's the Alan Silvestri soundtrack is amazing, and I liked where they head with it. But then we had Carl Urban's Dredd.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I watched it recently, and it just said, I'm gonna buy a box and I'm gonna start reading.
Right.
But some of the artwork in there is so unique, so detailed, so messy that you just fall in love with it. And that's how I felt when I looked at it. But when my brother looks at it, he'll be like, oh, it does look quite messy.
Yeah.
I can't seem to concentrate on all these little details. And that's the one thing I loved. And I'm trying to remember the artist for The Last American.
Oh, yes, I know exactly who you mean.
So if you look at the front covers and the artwork, they are almost heavily based on what Judge Dredd was. Yeah. The artwork from there. And I can't remember the artist's name, so forgive me. So the detail in the shading, the patches he was wearing, there's so much information for your eyes to kind of process that people go to a cover that, sorry to name drop, but Alex Ross, because it's perfect. He's done it in a realistic life form, oil paints and all mixed media, and your eyes will be drawn to that more. Where for me, I'd go to Jim Lee because of his articulateness.
Oh my God, yeah.
So when you see him draw Batman, but remember, he's not just drawing Batman, he's drawing the background, the moon, he's flicking Tipex all over it to give it the spray. I love his art process because he's a mixed media art form guy.
I don't use this word often, but I mean, is he a genius? Yeah, I think so.
He is, definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
I think, probably big shout out to obviously your cap as well, but I mean his work on X-Men as well.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about, most people obviously think of the classic. Oh God, the name escaped me just annoyingly just then. But the 70s run of X-Men. And,
yes.
And the artist then, most people would turn back to that artwork and obviously Kirby's work as well. But I think for me, Jim Lee's work is the one that I picture the most of the time when I think of X-Men.
100%.
Obviously, and whether people like to admit it or not, you see that in the X-Men '97 and the '90s cartoon as well.
It's heavily inspired.
And so, I think Jim Lee is a stunning artist. And it's. Do you know what's the biggest compliment you can give him? Even if the book isn't as good in terms of story and everything else, I know which one I'm thinking of. I don't want to say it, and you know exactly which one I'm thinking of as well. The artwork is still stunning.
Stunning.
And do you know what? Fair play to him.
Oh yeah,
because
100%,
look,
100%.
most people would probably be like, "Oh, well, why should I bother if the story's this or if it's delayed? It's this." I tell you who else I really like actually as an artist. Joe Quinones.
Yes.
I hope I've pronounced your name right, by the way. But his work is beautiful piece
stuff.
Of work.
Beautiful.
He's managed to capture, obviously, so his most recent work, obviously, being the Batman '89.
Yeah, Batman '89. Yep.
His work is so good in that book, and I may have some flaws within the storytelling within that. I still enjoy what I've read of it, but I think that the artwork in particular is just very striking. Especially, I think for me, his Echoes work at the moment.
Oh, bro,
it's really strong. His last issue he did with this with the Scarecrow Fear Toxin sequence is absolutely extraordinary. And the way that he constructs the page, and it's just stunning. Also, to come back to your point about Judge Dredd, I think the reason why Judge Dredd gets away with the the stylistically changes and everything, and maybe I'm giving it a pass by saying it this way, because for me, I don't have an opinion really about artists' work, because at the end of the day, I used to be a cartoonist / storyboard artist, but ultimately I've never seen myself as that, because the only reason why I say this is, and I know it sounds weird, because who am I to judge someone's style?
100%.
Who am I to judge that style? I'm not going to turn around and be like, but then, if that was the case, then Picasso wouldn't be there.
Exactly, and I think...
And the genre, by the way, for Judge Dredd, because it's set in the future, so we have this preconception of what the future could be in our eyes. So having these outlandish bodies and limbs and everything.
Of course. It works.
It's a world with aliens as well.
Oh my
and
God.
Judge Death as well.
Oh my God. So, yeah, great. I'm getting back into that world. But the art style, I love it. And people maybe see it messy, but I see art in it, man. I see the creativeness. I can see. It's weird, because when I look at comic books and when I look at art pieces, I look at the process, the deconstruction of artwork. And I think what Eduardo did in this story in particular is absolutely amazing. But I don't nitpick on people's art because I did that to my art for years.
Right.
I judge my own art. I look at other people's art thinking, oh, it's amazing. Why does mine look like a piece of shit for?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we sometimes do as creatives. We're hard on ourselves.
Absolutely.
We really hurt ourselves mentally because of that. And I think if you take yourself completely outside the box and be like, oh my God, you know what? I've just done an amazing piece.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people need to praise themselves on the artwork that they do. And I get messages where people say, what can I do to make my artwork better? You don't have to do nothing. You just need to love it for yourself, and then everything changes from there. Once you accept the fact that this is your own artwork, these are my pieces of work, I think it will carry you further than you think. And I think once I started doing that, and not looking at imperfection in other people's artwork, saying, oh, I could do that better, that changed everything for me.
I think that's really beautifully said, by the way. Really well put.
Changed.
And I think more and more people need to hear that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the other big key factor, obviously, within all of it is that it's about the mind of a creative as well, which is why you do get away with the different art styles.
That's right. That's right.
Just here, for example, like you've got like this kind of fluid texture to it in terms of like the drawings. And then you've got the kind of nitty gritty of like there. So, yeah, I think it's, and even the color work is just
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Very
I think it's really
striking.
important on how they evoke. I think because colors evoke emotions. So it's panels that will be dark and bright. It will set emotions, and I think. And we haven't given much away of the book, which we didn't really, which I don't really want to do, because I want to be able to recommend it, and then you guys come back to me and say, Kibbs, I really enjoyed it, or I didn't, or I was confused about something. But go check it out. It's available on all platforms to buy, digital and physically. Go check it out. It's definitely one to have. If you're a fan of Batman, if you're a fan of comics, and if you're a fan of books, you're going to absolutely love it.
Yeah. It's probably the definitive book I recommend to people now in terms of comic books. I mean, it's either this, Watchmen, Year One, or V for Vendetta. But this one for me,
there you go. See?
I think is the
look at us.
Wow, you know.
Look at us.
No, for me, for this one in particular, I think if anyone ever feels like they need to open up a window,
yes, that's right,
into a reality of things, then this is the one. And as just a reminder of why we do what we do is so important. So, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, that's that. Good coffee, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, really very good. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. I didn't take a sip until now because I got so deep into this. But moving on, dude, punching bag. Talk to me.
So, what do you want to know?
I want the listeners and the guys watching this to know
it's remarkable, actually.
Yeah,
it's been 2 years since that podcast recording.
Wow.
Since I heard that recording of you and Michael chatting about.
Wow.
Because I think it was just initially you just chatting to him about his,
cosplay journey,
and then he mentioned obviously he's an actor, which I already knew. But then the thing that really struck me was when he mentioned he was a boxer. And I was like, I've known you for years and you've never told me that. And then having that conversation with him to hear that this is what he does on the sidelines, to help combat his own mental health. And then hearing him say that line, which to me was, by the way, this is your fault. I think that's the way of saying this. It's your fault, along with him, obviously. But him saying, I was willing to let one punch end it all, was a very powerful thing to hear, and that brought up just so much stuff for me personally. And then I just had to have that separate conversation with him and say, I heard you on this podcast with Kibbs, and just like I wanted to know more. And then eventually we, 2 years later, we're now in the process of later this month getting it in the can. Amazing. So guys, the reason why I mentioned this is I'm going to say because we're working together on this. We've got a Kickstarter campaign. The links are in the description, and when I do the clips will be in our bios as well. I really want to see this movie get made, and if you guys love movies, love boxing movies, you love hearing about mental health, you guys can be a part of this journey as well. They've got a great Kickstarter page with different levels that you can join in at. And I'm not gonna lie, I want my name on IMDb. Wouldn't you want your name on IMDb?
But the process of you guys going from writing, because I know it had several changes,
Sure.
to coming to a point now where you're like, oh my God, I'm actually filming this.
Right.
What's that like, bro? Like, I get excited for you guys when I hear an update coming up, and it's like, oh my God, like, you're saying it's 2 years now.
Yeah.
And to get to that creative process, I know takes hard work, contribution.
Yeah.
But the feeling of getting close to it, how's that making you feel?
So it's interesting because I think that there's so many different elements that I can answer there, but I think the honesty thing is that it is terrifying.
Yeah.
But it's exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
This is the most excited I've felt in a very long time as a creative.
I love
because very much like a boxing match, there are high stakes, and you know, one move could be a big blow, but at the end of the day, we have to get back up. And we have to keep going.
That's right.
And the reason why it has taken 2 years to get to this point is fundamentally, and I got no problem saying it this way, but
yeah, of course.
which is the industry in many ways has let us down. You know,
100%.
obviously the writer's strike and the actor's strike did put a stamper on, you know, hold on certain things, but also funding opportunities, you know, and getting to this point right now, you know, they do say that people want to rush to get to the final hurdle of making something, but actually time has been a blessing on our side to be able to develop, to actually process, to actually fully understand what it is that we're trying to do. Like, this is a boxing drama about mental health and well-being, which does dive into that loneliness and addictions and way they affect the people that we love around us. And that does need to be careful planning.
No, of course.
And time. And in the process of that, and I think the biggest step for us was two things. One, having the wonderful Candid Broads Productions attached to this production.
Cool. That's good.
Because having a female-led production company involved is phenomenal, because they have such a strong philosophy, which is to be the industry that they want to see and to tell underrepresented voices in front and behind the camera, which is the same philosophy that I have.
Yeah,
I want to be in an industry I want to see. At the moment, myself and other people I know, we're people who are breaking down the doors in terms of like trying to push ourselves, like
of course, 100%,
like people who look like us.
Of course,
to have our say.
Yes,
we're breaking the hinges. We haven't
Yes.
quite fully broken the doors as of yet, but we're breaking them bit by bit. And these ladies in particular are part of that. And the extraordinary thing is, and I honestly think this is a big, unique selling point to what this film is as well, which is now it has been, and it was always an ambition of mine, which is to have heads of department being led by women, because I don't know a lot of boxing films that do have.
Of course.
You know,
There isn't.
Well,
There isn't. So this is you're breaking boundaries here. So that's amazing.
I think so. And I think the other thing that happened was when we did the test footage. And I think when people finally saw that when we were shooting it on film, because there's always this big factor of, why shoot on film? You can just do it on digital, this, that, and the other, ease and this, that, and the other. And I'll come back to George Lucas, which is art pushes technology and technology pushes the art.
Oh, yes.
And I absolutely fundamentally agree with that. But also, we also have to remember that film is a history. And it's also a texture that you don't get like any other. And when people see, and people have seen already with the Super 8 test, that texture of seeing an athlete, an actor, my friend, a brother, Michael, being that craft on screen and punching towards camera like that, it's a different sensational feeling.
It's a feeling,
It's a different sensation altogether. And I think it's something you don't get with digital. And I think there's a level of discipline that we've lost in filmmaking now.
100%.
That I think, and again, it's not to sound like a big saviour or anything like that, but like for me, it's something I want to harken back to, is that it's something I grew up with. Like,
no, exactly. And
as artists.
Of course.
When we were drawing and stuff, like, there was this discipline of, you've got to draw like this and this and this. But then once you know that, then you can break out of that.
Break out of that. No, of course. I think
so.
No, bro, I'm super excited. The fact that you guys are filming it in film excites me, only because of seeing movies now takes away. I don't know why it is that the 80s and 90s films had, because they were shot in film.
Yeah.
They have this feel and look and feel to it. And I feel like we only get that in certain projects that people that still do use film.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan. And there's other directors and artists out there that still use film. It gives a different feel to it, bro. And you could see it. Your eyes are delighted by it. So like when I saw that first little test, I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing. Like I'm gonna feel it.
Yeah.
Because of the look and feel to it. And I feel movies nowadays they all look similar.
Yeah.
They don't have a unique look and feel. I mean, you have your big blockbusters, Dune, Part 2, you know, that have that look, but majority of films, they all look the same.
I agree.
They all look the same.
I agree.
They don't have that touch and feel like, oh my God, like I want to, you know, I watched Never Ending Story the other day and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is beautiful. You know, film, like you can't beat that rustic look.
Well, and also it does add another layer to the story that we're trying to tell, which is the world isn't perfect. And with Super 16, it's a quality but also rare, raw texture to it, which adds to this level of imperfection.
Oh, I love it. Oh, so excited.
It's just another layer to already a very layered story. Like, you've read the script itself.
Yes,
like,
of course.
It doesn't, not to make a pun here, but it doesn't pull punches. You know, it's very much a film where, and I think that's, honestly, and I think, I have no problem saying this either, but like, and it comes back to the book as well.
Yeah.
Making a film like this has been so beneficial for my own mental health and well-being, because for me to recognize that I wasn't okay, and to be able to now make something where I'm feeling okay, and then to be part of a craft like boxing now. Like I'm not a boxer.
But you're on the journey.
But I'm on the journey.
You're on the journey.
I'm on the journey. But to be able to find something else to come out of my own world,
that's amazing.
From film and comics and movies and TV shows, and actually do something outside of, you know, me, as it were. And it's been so beneficial.
Oh man.
So beneficial. And I know, as I said before, when I make this film, I know that if I've got one person watching it and they get the same feeling that I have when I've made it, and you know, they're seeing the film and seeing the story that's there on screen, and they get that connection straight away, then I know I've done my job. It's that same sensation that we had when we were kids, when we watched the film for the first time. Or even now, like when we pick up books like this and we realise it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be upset, it's okay. And that's the key thing with Punching Bag for me, is not only is it my responsibility to tell this story, but it also ultimately raises further questions like, what is a punching bag to you? What is that punching bag? And for me, I finally found what that punching bag is, and it is not just boxing, but it is the craft of filmmaking.
Oh, amazing. Guys, let's get this film made. I can't wait, because when I read that script the first time around, like, you know, reading something that can give you visuals is amazing. So the way you guys have wrote the story, that really painted a picture in my head, and I'm excited to see, because I see your direction in it now,
right? And
what you're going to bring to the screen. So I'm super excited for you guys. Definitely super excited. Can't wait to see my cameo. But listen, guys, the link's in our bio, the link's in the description. Please, you've got what, 16 days by the time this goes 15, up?
16
Let's
days,
say 15 days when I get this up. Be a part of this amazing journey, and yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm super excited. So I think like I'm proud to be a part of this, because it was, you know, these guys have gone off on their own to, after watching the episode and you doing that, I've got to say I'm proud of you guys, because the feeling it gives me, and when my brother keeps telling me, I can't believe they're making a movie out of an episode that we had 2 years ago. So we're fully, you know, back in and proud of you guys, because we connected.
Yeah.
That thing you said about that one person. Yeah. That episode did that for you.
That's exactly it.
What that is delightful, bro, for us to hear that. We can't wish you more than, you know, everything that we can give to you to help out. So guys, be a part of the journey, and please contribute what you can. And Rob, I think I'm going to end it there.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect ending.
Also, it's a pretty glorious day. We should probably go for another walk.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
But dude, thank you so much again for all your support on this. And, you know, again, it's your fault. But, I mean, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it.
I'm happy to inspire. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
I think the fact that we inspired something happening is insane. And that's what we as people can do to one another.
Yeah.
Be infectious and, you know, we can, you know, you smile at somebody, you get a smile back. It's a chain reaction of smiles. And I think that's important that we can do that when it comes to everyday life as well. You know, because we're going to go home buzzing right now.
Yeah.
Because we've got more work to do, but I've got something positive to look forward to. But, Rob, thank you for coming on this first episode.
No, it's been a pleasure. Good coffee, good comics, good company, and we'll chinch into that.
There we go.
There you go.
There you go. Cup of comics. This is the first episode. So guys, we are on all streaming platforms. You can watch the video on YouTube as well. Do everything you can do. The fact that we can inspire one another, I think that's the most important part. And the main reason for this was that we share a comic book with you guys and how we feel and how my guest feels about this book as well. And something to recommend to you guys as well. I think the comic book community really needs something like this, honestly, because I feel like we've come to a different point in that industry, and I want to come back to the source material and what's inspired this whole journey that both of us are on. I'd like to bring that back, but stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you very much, guys, and shall we do another ding?
Yeah, there you go. Cheers.